What is a prenuptial agreement and what are its main purposes?
A prenuptial agreement is done between two people who are going to get married. And its purpose is really twofold. One, it can capture what the parties have right now in terms of money in the bank, investments, retirement, property, etc. One of the advantages of capturing what the parties have right now is certainly when people are getting married, they love each other. They're not even remotely thinking, hey, this may not work out, but the old adage is true. About 50% of all marriages end in divorce. But that divorce may not take place for a long time. So banks and financial institutions generally keep records going back about 7 years. The problem often arises in divorce cases where people had things like retirement accounts or investment accounts in particular, and they go to get divorced 10, 20, 30 years after they get married, and they want to be able to prove the quote unquote premarital component of their investment or retirement account. And a lot of times people do not keep those records. They don't download their statements as they get them. They don't print them out. They certainly in 2023, as we're talking, people a lot of times don't get those things in the mail anymore. They lose them, et cetera. And then when they go to get divorced and their attorney says, okay, well, prove that how much you had in your 401k as of date of marriage 20 years ago. And they said, oh, well, I contacted the plan or the, whatever, Fidelity. They don't have those records anymore. What do I do? And the attorney will have to advise them, yeah, sorry, there's nothing you can do. You just lose out on any premarital portion because you have the burden of proving that. So that's one of the purposes of a prenup. The next purpose of a prenup is to dictate what happens to assets or property in the event of a divorce. So divorce law will simply say this is the general rule, which is assets and property get divided 50-50. But your prenup can deviate from what New York State divorce law has to say. So it can say, let's say if husband or husband-to-be had a house going into the marriage. Well, divorce law says in the event of a divorce, wife would get a share of any pay down of the mortgage as a buildup of equity on separate property. The wife would get active appreciation of that property. So if they made improvements or whatever else on that property, wife would be able to claim a share of the active improvement or appreciation of that property. But your prenup can say, this is what the general rule is. We are agreeing to deviate from that general rule, and here's how we are deviating from it. So those are the two core purposes of a prenuptial agreement.